You know, there's a reason so many golfers struggle to hit their fairway woods consistently. It's because the fairway woods are by far the hardest club in the bag to hit. So if you've been hitting yours poorly, let's say chunking them, hitting the ground behind, or topping them. So right after this, let's talk about a few things that are going to make you a lot better at hitting your fairway woods high and straight off the deck. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I'm on a journey to hit it longer and straighter off the tee, longer and straighter all the way to the green, and that means being able to really hit the heck out of the fairway wood so I can get it up to the green on those really long par 4s and par 5s. If you're on the same journey, then by all means, please consider hitting the subscribe button, liking this video at the end if you liked it, and leave a comment down below. Hey, and don't forget to pick up my free Slice Cure video and my distance tips ebook. I've left a link to both of those free items down below in the description. Okay, so today we're talking about hitting your fairway woods better, more consistently, cleaner, higher in the air, longer down the fairway. That's our goal with a lot of them. I know that a lot of golfers out there are not driving the ball far enough to where they've got to pull out a fairway wood on a lot of holes on their second shot. So it really puts a premium as far as your score goes on being able to hit the fairway woods proficiently. So you have the length and loft almost of a driver. You've got a big chunky club head, except now all of a sudden you don't have a tee anymore and you're expected to hit this thing perfectly right off the deck, which means you got to be really precise with the strike. So one simple thing to check on first is to make sure you're playing the ball in the right position, which would be well forward of center. I like to play the 3-wood actually right off the left instep, so it's pretty far forward. If you're playing the ball more back in the middle like this, there's a good chance that you're hitting down on the ball too much. That's going to make it go really low and you're not going to get a ton of distance because of the lack of carry. The fairway woods are meant to be swept. You've got this big underside of the club. It's like a water ski. So water ski is kind of built to skim across the water and not really dig in and cut. So we want to do the same thing, the same approach with the 3-wood. Well, we've got to make contact with the grass for sure. It's more of a skimming blow, and that's why you want to play that thing way up off the front instep. So let me demonstrate that ball position here. So another thing to consider is, are you using the right club for you to be really consistent? So that means for a lot of golfers out there, a 3-wood is just not enough loft. You're talking about a standard loft of about 15 degrees. If you don't have a lot of club head speed, you're not going to be able to launch the ball super high. You won't hit the ball with a high enough launch angle, and you're not swinging strong enough to really get it to spin up in the air a lot. So you're getting these kind of really low line drives, and it's really costing you some distance. What I would do instead, if you're a slower swinger, let's say your driver swing is under 85 miles per hour or so, you might consider instead switching off the 3-wood and just playing a 5-wood as your go-to club in the fairway. This will give you not only higher shots that'll probably go just as far as your 3-wood ever did, but the difference is you're going to get a little more forgiveness, and that way if you catch it a little bit low on the face, you're still going to get a decent amount of air. Now in the extreme case, I've got some students, they don't have any confidence at all in their fairway woods. You know, these are golfers that are just learning how to play. They're learning how to break 100 and then learning how to break 90. If you're in that boat, hey, It's okay to drop down to even a hybrid, even like a 4 or even a 5 hybrid to get the job done here. You're getting more forgiving club, a little bit shorter, easier to control, a lot more loft to pop the ball in the air. So consider this for a second, that if you're hitting your drives, let's say 200 to 225 yards, the difference between a 3-wood and a 5-wood, if you hit them both perfectly, is probably only going to be about 10 yards. So that would be your one best shot. But if you were to hit 100 golf balls with a 3-wood, 100 golf balls with a 5-wood, and if you're not good with either one of these, you took your 4 or your 5 hybrid and you hit 100 balls, call back the average to me, average up the distance of all 100 shots and see which ones comes out on top. And I'll bet you it's not going to be the 3-wood, it's going to be the 5-wood or the hybrids, because your performance is just so much more consistent. So golf is more about consistency, getting the ball down the fairway on your second shot with appreciable amount of distance, and eliminating some of your really erratic shots. That's what good golf is about, is reducing erratic shots that really hurt your score. It's not a badge of shame to have to put the 3-wood away and opt for something with a little more loft. Now, of course, I know you didn't click on this video to learn to hit a different club besides your 3-wood. You really want to learn how to hit your 3-wood better, your fairway wood better. So in the meantime, you can use that plan of using more loft to keep your scores under control and get a little more forgiveness down the fairway. But now let's learn, what is the #1 reason that most golfers have such a hard time with hitting their fairway woods correctly up in the air and clean off the turf? Most golfers will hit them either grass behind, or they'll somehow hit the top of the ball and roll it along the ground. And either one of those is not going to get very much distance at all. You know that's going to cost you almost an entire shot added onto your score, because you're probably going to have to pull this club out again, and the ball's only 50 yards down the fairway, and you're going to have to hit it again because you're still so far to the green. So what are we going to do about all these poor shots of chunking it, topping it, overall hitting it low? Well, the big thing here is going to be to control your low point. So what is your low point? Your low point is, you've got the club head coming down like a pendulum, acting like a pendulum through the impact zone. So here you have your descending blow, and then the club levels off, and then the club ascends after it reaches its low point as it continues around kind of this U shape. What most people are doing wrong with the fairway woods is that they're locating their low point too far behind the ball. So now what you do is going to depend on how vertical you are with that low point. So the person who is correctly striking some turf with the fairway wood, but hitting it back here in the wrong location, is going to hit, you know, the grass behind, and they're going to hit a big drop kick or a flub, a chunk of some kind, and kind of roll the ball down the fairway for no distance. Now, the other style of golfer, well, they're still bottoming out way behind it in the same place. Let's say 4 or 5 inches behind the ball, that would be pretty disastrous, and you would consistently be pretty poor at hitting the fairway woods if you were 4 or 5 inches low point behind it. Now, if you're just 1 inch low point behind it, you're just going to have sporadic results. Some days you'll get away with it. Then when you least expect it, you'll hit a very poor shot, top it, or hit it very low, or just kind of chunk it down the fairway not very far. So in the second case, where the person is topping it, well, they're still bottoming out in the same location, but they're not quite going as deep as golfer #1 who's chunking it. You might be coming into the grass just a 1/4 of an inch off the grass. But what's happening here is you reach your low point a couple inches early, and then the club starts to turn upwards, and therefore you're hitting the top half of the ball this way. So it'd be pretty easy to even top it or whiff it if I were to bottom out. So there's a complete whiff. And that one I hit a little drop kick and it went very low down the fairway. So low point control is going to be really the big key for you to understand and then develop that all of your swings, the low point should be off the left instep or left heel. That's where your low point should occur. So for you to move your low point from, let's say, the middle of your stance behind, which is behind the ball, and to get it up underneath the ball where this should be on a fairway wood, where you should be sweeping it with just a tiny bit of a down strike, you're either going to hit the fairway wood level or maybe 1 or 2 degrees down on it. And a lot of it depends on the lie, but certainly we need to get the low point closer to the left foot. So what most golfers are doing that creates a low point so early is that they simply don't shift and turn their bodies enough. Most golfers with this issue, they simply lift the arms and drop the arms, and their swing is pretty armsy. Now look where I tend to kind of bottom out here. I'm bottoming out. If I just lift the arms and then drop the arms, it's pretty easy to make a divot over to my right foot, which is interesting because the lack of using the pivot and the turn of the body is probably also the reason that you need a fairway wood on a lot of holes anyway, because the lack of turning and shifting instead of just lifting the arms and dropping the arms, not only is it wrecking your low point, but it's probably curtailing your club head speed quite a bit. So fixing this problem is it's of utmost importance. And let's look at an easy drill that I think all of you are going to get. Let's go to the idea of playing baseball for a second. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make my stance real narrow. I'm going to put this at about thigh high, like I'm hitting a fastball right here. What I'm going to do is, as I draw the club back, I'm going to take a little step and turn the body, and I'm going to pretend that the baseball is somewhere out here in front of me, like there. Okay, so I'm anticipating that the baseball is coming right there, like someone's doing a soft toss to me. And I'm going to swoosh, and I'm going to snap the club and the wrists out there. So here's a narrow stance, step, swoosh. Narrow stance, step, turn, swoosh. Just like that. So again, I'm picturing where I'm going to try to connect with that fastball way out in front. You could hear that my swoosh was way out in front. So what you would do then is you would start to work this exercise more towards a real hit of the ball. So instead of going thigh high here, I might bend a little more and drop it down to ankle high, but I'm still going to picture hitting a baseball out in front, 3 or 4 feet. So here's a little step, ankle high now, and let's swoosh way out in front. Now the next transition move you'll make is just to take a regular stance, ankle high, and just this time do it with no step at all. Just instead feel your weight stepping down into the left heel, turn the body, and let's go ankle high. Let's hit the fastball way out in front, and a little bit around the left field as well. So something like this. Now I want you to do that exercise several times in a row, and what you're doing is you're really keying in on how the body weight is getting over to the left foot more completely, how your chest is facing down the fairway more completely, and where your swoosh point is going to be. So now we're going to try it with a golf ball in the way. Don't have to swing hard here. You might want to drop down the speed to 50 or 60%, something like that. But you're going to picture the same swoosh point out in front of the ball. So we're going to shift, turn, and swoosh out in front, kind of a soft swing here. So I put the numbers, I put the TrackMan numbers for that last shot up in the corner of the screen here, you can see I definitely have my low point a little bit in front of the ball. In this case, it was about 3 inches in front of the ball, and my attack angle was about 2.8 degrees downwards. So there's no question that I turned and shifted out in front and put my swoosh out in front, and that automatically positioned my low point to be slightly in front of the ball here. And that's what we're looking for, is to get the low point on a fairway wood either directly underneath, which would be a level shot, which would be all right, to ever so slightly hitting down on the ball. That's what we're gonna need in order to pop the ball up in the air and hit it clean and solid. Now this means for a lot of you toppers or thinners out there, you're going to need to evolve one more step, and that means you're gonna need to make sure that this club is taking a little bit of a divot. Now the nature of the club, it's swinging kind of flat and around you, and it's long, so the divot is not going to be as steep because the swing is not as steep as, say, a 9-iron, but still you've got to make an attempt to get good contact and a little bit of a thump into the grass. So that'll be tough for some of you because you've evolved into kind of picking everything clean off the turf, and you're definitely going to have to take a few hits just to make sure you're kind of striking down through the turf even with the wood. Remember that the design of the club is going to take care of the hit. Even if you are attempting to hit kind of down on it, the club is still going to bounce off the ground with this design underneath, and it's going to bounce right into the ball and pick it up in the air nicely. All right, let's take a look at a couple more and we'll break it down in slow motion, and hopefully I'll put everything together into one. So ball position, off the instep, and controlling the low point. So hey, I hope you got a little bit of help and a couple of good tips from this video on how to hit your fairway woods better. Hey, tell me, what is your go-to club in the fairway when you need distance? Leave it in the comments down below. Are you hitting a 5-wood or a hybrid already? And what is your big miss hit with the fairway woods? Help me understand where you need help, and maybe I can do a video in the future to help you more specifically. So thanks again to Golf Development Complex in Moore Park, California. That's where we're located. Thanks for hosting us. And hey, if I don't see you in the next video, I hope I see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Take care.